Welcome to another episode of the Angels Positivity and Love Show. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights. They're here not just to share knowledge, experience, share their life journey, but they're sharing their frequency, their heart, their love for all of us. Most of them are assisting others, giving service to others, and that truly is the highest calling. Coming back on the show from Hong Kong, Letao Wang. Not a spiritual seeker anymore, but still learning. Incredible astrologer, spiritual guide to others, whether it's tarot, astrology. He's got a bunch of oracle decks and more. He's been listed again as the 2020 Spiritual Guide of the Year, Best Astrologer 2021 in Hong Kong, and it goes on. He's got quite the credentials. We had a wonderful time on episode 70. I think that was back in the beginning part of 2024, the last time I saw him. And I'd just like to say, Letao, it's great to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Okay, talk to us about the billion-dollar question going on. Is there something up with
Yeah.
mankind? Is mankind ready for more compassion, gentleness, and kindness?
Well, we can always use more love and more compassion, right? I mean, it's very interesting because these days the readings that I do, the common theme, um, specifically, I would say during the past 12 months, is about actually offering compassion, especially when we are going through a difficult time ourselves. More often than not, we tend to see ourselves as the one needing more compassion. And thus, when we're dealing with certain situations, we tend to be a little bit more self-focused, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, literally yesterday, I had a session with a client, and I mean, she was going through a very difficult time in her relationship, but what she was a, a little bit oblivious of was that actually her partner was also suffering at the same time, even though on the surface it looks like, she was a victim. I mean, she was, right? Both of them were hurt, were badly wounded, emotionally and psychologically. So yesterday we worked on a lot, compassion and unconditional love, right, towards each other. And I think that when we talk about humanity, the first step probably for us to do is to offer that towards people that are actually relatable to us. And once we can do that, it's much easier for us to relate to people who are far away. Uh,
I love it. We're going to come right back to compassion, but I did want to have you go back over around 2015, your own personal awakening,
uh,
just coming into your skills. And do you mind giving us some extra flavor? Was there a time where you were seeing auras all the time on people and it was almost like make it stop? And today it's only when you want to turn it on. Could you put a little extra flavor on just some of those moments?
oh, interesting. So I guess I work a little bit differently from a lot of other the so-called spiritual masters, because my awakening was very much through mythology. And I don't really suddenly, for example, see, for example, a spirit in front of me or like someone, coming down from the sky talking to me. I don't see that at all, actually. But my journey was very much about me being very much fascinated by the archetypes, and by the mythological story, the archetypes embedded in the ancient myth, the Greek myth, the Roman myth, as well as, of course, my own heritage, Chinese mythology. And through those stories and through those heroes and heroines, and I realized that after thousands of years of so-called evolvement and development, we're still the same people always, and we're still learning the same lessons always. And so when I'm talking to each single client in front of me, it's a little bit like reliving those stories, reliving those legends in, for example, Iliad and Odyssey. Sometimes I literally tell a client, when we were putting cards, and I say to the client, I say, so well, you know what? I see Helen in you, Helen of Troy, or I might see I don't know, Odysseus, right? There's something that regarding your history in the past that I can very much associate with the journey all the way back to Ithaca, things like that. So that's actually very much about my how I started my journey, how I have been loyal towards my journey. It's about understanding myth and being in love with myth. Yeah.
And in these last 10 years, what have you had to let go of versus what have you enjoyed for some personal growth? But again, it could be on the intuitive front, something that you're doing now that you weren't necessarily doing when you started.
Wow. I think maybe in my early days, uh, let's just say maybe 7, 8 years ago, I was very much focusing on learning things from books. So it was very much about reading books and trying to seek the so-called truth from the books. And one of the challenges I had during that period of time was that every author was different. Every author was saying, well, some of them, of course, similar things, but some authors were very conflictual with other authors, right? And so in my mind, it was very confusing because somehow I believed that all books published out there should be the so-called Bible, right? Everyone should be talking about the truth, but how can truths be conflictual with each other? And that doesn't make sense. And the more, the deeper I develop my career, the more counseling that I do, I realize that actually there's no such thing called the truth, but everyone has their own truth. And that's pretty much based on the so-called myth that they have experienced in their own life. And the most I am learning these days actually is not really through books. Of course, I still read, a lot. But the so-called truth that I'm gaining, and that can be the most enlightening for me, is actually every single conversation that I have with people with all different walks of lives. And they all have their own truths and they all inspire me in different ways. So that's, I would say, the biggest difference in terms of my own personal development is to understand that the variety, right, of truths that is out there compared to there's only one truth, and everyone follows that one thing. Mm.
Beautifully said, and perhaps a good moment to mention your publisher, one of your publishers at least, if not the main one, Beyond
Oh,
Words,
yeah,
publishing
yeah.
out of the
Mm.
northwestern part of the US. Definitely a great name for what we were just talking about.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
amazing. Yeah. Mm.
now I've got two quotes for you, and one's from a NASA astronaut, Story Musgrave. Getting out of the comfortable path, that's what exploration is all about.
Mm.
And the second one
Mm.
came from a Netflix film that I cannot remember from 10 years ago, but I feel like you've already touched on it. And these are not easy questions. I'd love for you to take it to the next level between that
Mm.
quote, getting out of the comfortable path, that's what exploration is all about. And then in the end, love is what shows us life in different colors.
Mm. Wow, I can talk so much about this actually, but I don't know if it's appropriate for podcast. Uh, so so the first one was about comfort zone, right? Right. Uh, I have to say, well, because I'm a Cancer, okay, so I know when I'm ready to leave my comfort zone, but it takes me a long time to go beyond that comfort zone. Of course, I've seen that in myself. I've seen that in clients as well, and it's always easier, right, as I, to tell someone else to go beyond their comfort zone because you're not going to be the one experiencing, and you don't have to bear the consequences of that. So easy to say, just do it, just try it, right? But so last month I was in UK because I was a speaker at the UK Tarot Conference, and after that I traveled to Cyprus because I wanted to see the Sanctuary of Aphrodite. The first time I saw it was back in 2017 or 18, so it's been 7, 8 years, right? So I went back there, and I was with a friend, and it's very interesting because we were driving around and uh and suddenly he said, I might get a little bit tired. Do you mind, we switch, right? Because I was pretty much, riding shotgun the whole time, and I had to tell him that I said I don't have a license, and the reason is because living in Hong Kong, you don't need a license. It's a mega city. It's like Manhattan. The public transport is so powerful that you will never need to actually drive. And even if you drive, you actually will be stuck in traffic. It's just inefficient anyway. And before that, I lived in Tokyo, which is also a mega city, and you just never really needed to drive. So I don't have a license, and of course, I'm not proud of that. And he said, well, you should just do it. When driving is such a basic skill that everyone learns. And I said, because when I was as a teenager, I had a traffic accident when I was on my bicycle. And I said, I'm just so uncomfortable driving anything. I freak out, especially with a car, and but eventually he convinced me. He said, "Don't worry, I'll be sitting right next to you. I'll be guiding you. Just don't worry." So we found an empty space, yeah, um, in the mountains, and he said, "Just do it." And for the first time, I drove. You know, we just drove very short distance, yeah. And he was watching me, and it was a mix of feeling of excitement, but also, of course, I was extremely frightened doing that. And that's the most recent experience of me going beyond my comfort zone. And I understand that this sounds ridiculous to a lot of people because everyone thinks, it's so ridiculous, right? Driving, how easy is that, right? I mean, we all know how to drive, but if you're talking to someone who is 40 something year old who never touched a wheel, in my life, and that was extremely scary, especially after that tragic accident that I had when I was a teenager. But you can be traumatized for a long time because of something. It's all in here. So actually, what happened in Cyprus made me feel closer to my clients, if you know what I mean. I mean, as a therapist, you can always repeat the same stories. Oh, the so-called the bookish knowledge, right? You can convey to your patients or your clients about leaving your comfort zone. But me experiencing that process again myself actually was very powerful, and I think that really helped me to show even more empathy, right? Because that experience reminded me of how to get out of my comfort zone and how scary it could be. And I think that was so important. And so I think as therapists, it's important that we also need to experience a lot of the so-called trauma or pain to remind ourselves that it's what we are doing is not to convey what is written in a psychology book to our patient, but we also have to live some of those experiences to refresh ourselves, yeah, for the so-called empathy and understanding of what other people are experiencing at an emotional and intellectual level.
And I promise to come back to more compassion talk in just a second,
Mm,
including I'll read 3 to 4 definitions of compassion. I think there are trillions of definitions of compassion
yeah,
since there are trillions of layers of consciousness. Um,
true.
but I'd love for us to go on a tangent one more time because it was beautiful what you just shared in Cyprus. Um, can you think back or feel back or share what first pops in? Maybe it was dream time. Maybe it was a stranger with sparkly eyes. When did the universe physically step in for you? Was it a relative in a dream, an angel, a mythic figure in a dream? Or was it a person with sparkly eyes that maybe you turned around after they said what they said? They're actually physically gone. There's no way they could have ever been there in the first place. Or the person who helped fix your non automobile tire because you don't drive.
Mm.
But something like that. That's a classic story, though, for everyone else. Letao, what jumps to mind?
As my you mean my
When did the universe step in for you in some way that you are
oh,
still to this day grateful for that interaction?
ooh, okay. Huh. That was definitely the time when I think around the age of 29, when I was experiencing my first Saturn return, and that's when I understood that I needed to do something different in my career. As before that, I was a finance guy. I was working in financial institutions, foreign exchange, FX, all these kind of things, and I was wearing a suit every day, going to work and helping rich people getting richer, and that was my job, and I was suffering a lot from that job because that was just not who I was. And I was feeling miserable for quite a long time. Around the age of 29, I knew that something was deeply wrong in my life, but I had no idea how to fix it. And I didn't really know then, okay, I can always quit a job, but then what? and I had no idea what was in front of me. And you can't quit a job if you don't have a plan. It's not like I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Oh, I just have millions of dollars. I can just do whatever I want. It's not like that. I had to be responsible for my future. Well, I'm a Capricorn moon. You know what I mean? So always responsibility is a big thing in my life. Um, but that it was one night. It was a dream that I had about what was I supposed to do. Because I dreamed about my the first reading experience that I had in Sydney, Australia, with my well, later that guy became my first astrology teacher. But I dreamed about him, so he came into my dream, and that experience just it's almost like I relived that experience again. I was in his shop, and I was receiving the first reading ever in my life. I think I was around 20, 24, 23, 24. Yeah. And, after 6 years, I dreamed about that again. And I woke up and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. Uh, yeah. So, and it's very funny because I never dreamed about him again after that. But I really think that maybe the universe was really trying to help me to bring that memory back to me. It's almost like giving me a nudge and saying that, okay, that's enough hint for you. Do you get it? And that was the biggest help, I would say, that I received from the universe around that time.
Those definitions of compassion are coming up. Here's just three or four random definitions of compassion from the universe, from loving figures in the universe.
Yeah.
Compassion is open eyes and open heart. Compassion is not judging, taking actions with no thought. Two more. Compassion is just being and trusting the outcome to be of the highest intent for all. And compassion is treating every moment with the awareness of a newborn baby. Which one, or did all of them jump out at you?
Oh, I think all of them, to be honest.
What's your
And those,
definition of compassion, and where do you want to go with all this? Take us somewhere.
uh, one of the important thing that I see compassion is that I realize that a lot of people actually are able to offer compassion to the people they love, right? Especially in my personal sessions, I've seen more people being able to do that, which is a good thing. But the problem is that they never really know how to embrace compassion within themselves. Because when we talk about compassion, I guess our education always define compassion as something we offer to other people. But when we are offering compassion towards others without really knowing how to embrace compassion towards ourselves, it becomes something quite dangerous. It becomes, well, lacking boundaries, let's put it this way. And to the point that we become addicted to the so-called sense of martyrdom and also a self-sacrifice. And we forgot about one thing that we all were assigned to do at birth. Our soul has chosen this physical being for us to take good care of, this physical being, and somehow we neglect that, and we forgot about the most important responsibility that we have is to take care of our own being. And I think that's one of the things I really want us to become more aware of. And I always tell clients to do one thing to cultivate, right, in this sense of self-compassion. And I actually wrote about that in my Oracle deck, Oracle of the Mythic Heroes, in the chapter dedicated to Medusa. I said one of the things that we can do is every morning and every night, because you're going to brush your teeth in your bathroom, you're going to have a mirror in front of you. Please look at yourself in the eyes and tell yourself that how well you have taken care of yourself and how proud you are to be given this physical being, even though life is not never perfect. And personally, when I started doing this, it's very hard because it's embarrassing. You look at yourself saying that, oh, I think you're beautiful. Ugh, I can't say that, just gross. But once I was able to say that for the first time, and I felt so much better. And that became a very healthy habit. And for me, and also recommended this to a lot of clients who are dealing with a sense of compassion. Yeah.
This is a bit like that classic treasure hunt, but the X on the
Mm.
map, it's your heart. You get to find yourself. You're the treasure. And it reminds me of the scene in Angela, Angel hyphen A, the Luc Besson film. He did all the Transporter movies, Joan of Arc, Fifth Element, The
Yeah.
Professional, and so on. There's a scene where a guardian angel has a ward in Montmartre, North Paris, the church in the bathroom, and she's got her arm around him, and he's never been told "I love you" by anybody. But the angel, tall, lanky, blonde, says "I love you" into the mirror to Andre. And then she disappears and says, "You've got to say it to yourself." It's a
Mm.
beautiful scene.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
Angela. Angel hyphen A is how it's spelled out. Black and white,
Uh,
but still black and white film, but still filmed. They shut down parts of Paris, the Eiffel Tower, probably
mm,
2010, 2006. Okay,
yeah. Can I ask you a question?
please.
Do you ever feel like maybe, I don't know, it's a family member or like a friend or someone, or maybe sometimes could be a stranger that would be saying something to you or doing something, and not all the time, but at that moment you feel it's actually an angel doing that with you rather than that person. Yeah.
Absolutely. And angels
Yeah.
can jump in and be that person, even though that person's back
Mm.
in LA. I was in Stockholm on that 1912 Olympic Stadium.
Ah.
It looks like a Viking castle. I'm in Stockholm. I'm way too early for a half marathon, and they don't lock up their
Ah.
tracks. Luckily, they don't
Ah.
lock up their tracks. In America, we lock up even the high school tracks. You got to hop
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fence. So I'm running repeats, and in walks a UCLA student. The real one is back in LA, and it was an angel just to say a few kind words. I was too shy for the first 20 minutes in about year 2000 to say hi.
Mm.
She started the conversation. It made my whole trip. I missed PRing in that race by a few seconds, but the point of that was to lift your
Ah.
spirits. I think that happens a lot. And
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to jump back to that in just a second, exactly what you brought up.
Ah.
But we're also going to follow a thread you raised, and it's beautiful. Back when you were talking about the mirror, what's the best compliment, Letao? This is turning into a hard interview, and I apologize, but it's not hard at all. You're a good guide for one's own heart. You've been working on yourself and there's no working. You've been allowing more and you've been growing more in your heart, big time. You have a lot of extra love that you're sharing with yourself and therefore able to share with others. What's the biggest compliment you can give yourself right now?
Wow. Um, okay. So here's the thing, yeah. There are always a few things that we find difficult in life. Either we can, we have always been so-called failing, okay, or we just never really get there so far. And I think the biggest compliment that I can give to myself is that sometimes it's not about you are not being enough. You have been doing the most you can, the best you can, but you have to really understand that there is also a divine timing. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to myself, that it's not about you not being enough.
And I
Sometimes
do
I have to constantly remind myself of that, to be honest. Yeah.
I love this. I love what you've been sharing. It's been all of it's been very beautiful. And thank you. Even though the show's not over, I'm still saying thank you now. Without
You're very welcome. Yeah. It's just this year, like what I said, it's been quite intense. So there's a lot of things that for a long time, I didn't really get to reflect on myself, to be honest. Because when things are going great, you don't really do a lot of self-reflection. You're just like, oh, I'm lucky. You know what I mean? Just a little bit like when people are seeking reading, they rarely seeking a reading session when their life is going just really well. Usually people will seek readers or a guide when they're going through a hard time. I think for us it's the same. And that really got me to reflect, right? A lot of things in my life just for the past 12 months. Yeah. Mm.
I have one more definition of compassion
Ah,
for you.
ah.
Compassion is being kind to yourself and letting go of past failures and accomplishments in the now. And I thought that was a good definition to pull out right after you just basically said all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Any extra, do you have a mantra? And we do one at the end. We have you give a mantra, repeat it 3 times so people can pick up on your vibe at
ah,
home. They might want to play it again. They might want to just feel inspired months
yeah.
later after the show came out. But right now, What's one mantra you wouldn't mind sharing?
Okay, so there's one mentor that I personally deeply love. It's actually by Rumi, the Persian philosopher, right? And he said, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in one drop. And I always love that sentence, that statement. And I try to visualize that in my mind as often as I can. And I think that this mantra has so many different layers, right? You can interpret this in many, many different ways. The so-called you are the entire ocean in that one drop of water. Different people might see this in different ways that could help them. Um, but this goes back to what I said about, you are enough.
Mm.
I think we can also relate it to that in that way. Yeah? I mean, if you have the entire ocean in you, what else do you need? It's a bit like that, right?
I'm going to light some sage now, and I know you've
Yeah.
lit sage around your place, but I do this for
Mm.
guests. And
Yeah.
about 95% of guests take some sort of step on the show. If you're just tuning in and wondering what's going on, the
Uh,
screens don't really matter. Time and space isn't as strict, and the boundaries aren't as strict as you think they are. The best I can do is your college, high school professor, teacher. That 1 hour, if it's a good teacher, maybe that
uh,
hour felt like 15 minutes. It went by like that. Or
yeah.
it felt like an hour and a half, bad teacher. It just stretched on, you were dying. And that's maybe when you saw auras on the row, the heads
Yeah.
on the row ahead of you. Or it's the vacation. If you're lucky enough to go on a vacation for a month, and the first time you go, it stretched out to infinity. It felt like you were there for the whole summer. The next time you go, it went by in like 2 weeks, and you're already getting back on the plane. Time is never that fixed.
Mm.
Okay, I'm going to light some sage, allow for some sage to come through, but you can catch flowers on top of it, sage flowers, and ocean that's not the water nearby, like
Mm.
Australia, what you remember from Australia. But if you prefer Seychelles or somewhere else, Hawaii, whatever's good for
Mm.
you.
Okay.
And so it's like a triple tier tiramisu without the calories. Okay, here we go. Ask the universe to step in, mythic figures, unconditional love figures, angels, and everybody else, all the loving beings here to help humanity out. Let us know when you get the sage, but if you'll close your eyes and catch flowers, and you're not going to share anything else except yes, got it, but get something extra special from your favorite figures. And are you getting sage A-OK that you know is something extra? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
flowers, it could be wisteria, lavender, it could be anything. Are you getting some flowers too?
I get poppies.
Yay, awesome. And then if you don't mind, close your eyes, see a beach,
Mm.
be on the beach, let it be somewhere, and maybe see the mentor or a special figure, Venus. Allow, no
Mm.
try Yoda. And just feel a lot of love, a lot of light. And then, of course, it's not like we have easy questions on the show, but you're knocking every ball out of the park. If it's Major League Baseball, you've not only knocked the ball out of the park, you've knocked the leather off the ball. The poor kid in the parking lot trying to collect that ball, not so lucky. Okay, Letao, allowing appreciation, attitude, attention, acknowledgement, awareness, abundance, angels. Which word or words just jumped out at you? A lot of A's there.
Any word?
Any word.
Love.
Is the fabric of the universe love?
I think so. Yeah.
How do you know?
I don't know actually, but I would love to believe in it. I will never be able to find evidence or the so-called the truth, right? That we mentioned at the very beginning of the session. But I hope that becomes my truth. Uh, mm.
Beautiful. Okay, just a few more questions. How do you like to describe your intuitive voice when it comes in strong? How do you like to describe? Is it your soul? Is it your intuition? Is it everybody speaking through you? How do you like to describe your intuitive voice?
Mm. It's actually not really a literal voice for me, but it's more about images. That I think I'm maybe a more visual person, yeah, rather than hearing voices. Um, Specifically when I'm reading cards. A lot of the times, it's just suddenly some images will just jump out of the card, and I will be somehow my attention will go to this very small detail, maybe on the image, and I realize that small thing on the card suddenly speaks loud towards me. And maybe, maybe 2 hours earlier, maybe I was looking at the same image, but that didn't really work. But then at that moment, certain things will jump out, and that's the so-called intuition that I feel. And I literally get very excited during the session when I see that. And I'll say to the client, I'll say, just a second, I just saw something, and let me share that with you. And what I think this means, particularly in your situation and for your question.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Without telling us any details, do you have another Oracle deck in the works? Do you always have one kind of you're thinking about it? And also
Uh,
for books, is there a
uh,
book perhaps in 2026 or so?
Right. So, the two decks that have already come out, right? Oracle of the Mythic Heroes and Celestial Deities in 2020. They came out 2024. So, I have another Oracle deck coming out, which is called Legends, Heroes, and Villains Oracle, also with Beyond Words Publishing, and is scheduled to come out in April, to be released in April 2026. That's my third Oracle deck. This is already open for pre-order. So you can find it on the publisher's website. You can find it on Amazon for pre-order. And I have a tarot book. Uh, uh, I have already have a contract with a different publisher. But my publisher told me not to talk about it too much because we haven't even started the editing process. But the plan is to release this book in 2027.
I love it. Very exciting.
Yeah,
Congratulations
yeah.
too on that. And may you
Thank
have
you.
lots of success with that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Talk to us just a little bit about the human condition, duality. There's something called thinking and knowing that precludes possibility. It's what you touched
Mm,
on at the very beginning. And then there's the heart that knows no limits. And that's where all the fun takes place. All the stuff that you're going to remember happens when you're in your heart. How do you like to describe the two different flows of energy? You know, one is
mm.
this and one is this.
Oh, I think in a way they do coexist, right? I mean, they can't really cancel each other out, like saying that, okay, which one is, because we have this, that's why this one doesn't matter. I mean, both of them will always matter to us. Because, I mean, like what you say, human condition is a very complex thing. But as an astrologer, what I would do is I will always look at where the opportunities are, where the abundance is given by the universe. There's always a focus there, and based on that yearly or maybe monthly energy, and I will try to make adjustment between what's in here and what's in here. And for example, next year in 2026, we have a very interesting transit. We have got Jupiter entering Leo around, I think, July, early July, very end of June and early July period of time. And Leo actually is the symbol of inner child. And that's why when we are looking at children's energy, we always associate with Leo. Everybody is born as a Leo. This is what I believe in. Even though you might be an Aries, you might be Cancer, Sagittarius, Aquarius, but when we're a child, we're all Leos. And when we grow up, then we started to develop, different characteristics. But children, they're just, more or less, they're similar in a way. And so the Leo energy is always about what comes in here, right? What is fun, what is playful, and what gives us joy. And that's why we see a lot of artists, entertainers, comedians, even actors and actresses and singers, right? Creative expression. And those people there's a lot of Leo energy actually in them. Either they are actually a sun sign Leo, or maybe their midheaven on their chart is in Leo. Because Leo is about expressing, yourself creatively. And so I think in 2026, especially after June, right? From July 2026 until June 2027, Jupiter will stay in Leo for the entire 12 months. And this is a time when we really need to embrace our inner child. and embrace what is actually in here and have a little bit more fun and go with what you love.
And we're going to embrace our inner child in just a second. Pisces here. I'm going to put
Oh,
up a
yeah.
background that allows us to see auras a little easier. We did this before the show. I think we did it before a
Yeah,
year and a half ago or more. But I'm going
correct.
to just show a little bit of light, catch what you can catch. And
Mm,
I'll put up a photo of an angel and then I'll do one whoosh of energy and then we'll start to wrap it up. And that's when you're going to be on the hot seat for a mantra, a new one, not roomy, where you get to repeat it 3 times for us, and we'll give you a little time to contemplate that. Okay,
mm.
I'm going to just put up this background, and you'll see a little bit of color between my fingers. It's seeing without seeing, the Zen thing. Allow, 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 and you get one more dad joke, which is the best part. Where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where in a hospital is the worst place? In the ICU. And just see a little filament of light. What are you seeing, Letao?
Pink, pink.
Perfect. And I'm going to put my hands down now. And congratulations. That was awesome. Thank you for doing that. Anybody at home, take a shower, pet the dog, sing, dance, make your favorite salad, let go and come back and play that again. Just be in your heart. Don't try. Always try. Both are correct. It's what Letao was talking about before. It's beyond words, not about words. Just be in your heart. Okay,
Mm.
one more photo or woo 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 or spiritual, but here's an angel named Joy. You can put your hand up, feel her vibe, or you can ask a question, get an answer. You can just get a whoosh down your back. There's a lot of ways to interact. Let her do her thing. Feel extra love and light. And if you want to get a topic from her, get a topic that'll be almost your closing topic with all of us. Maybe a reminder of some sort. Just say got it when you're feeling some energy or something so we know you're connecting. Do you get it?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Mm.
And what does she have for all of us, or what is she reminding you of to talk about further?
The first thing that came to my mind is love exists in all different forms, and it's important that we notice them.
Beautiful. Okay,
Mm,
last intuitive, energetic, love and above sort of activity, because we try to do a
mm.
little more on this show. I'm going to just whoosh a little bit of energy only one time here in Texas to Hong Kong. Latau, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, this is my microphone and it's down below today. I'm going to blow a little too. Catch flowers, oceans, something, even sea spritz on the nose. It's not me. Don't blame Canada, blame angels, blame the universe, blame loving beings. Just blame someone. But it's
Ah,
going to be a lot of fun and a lot of love. Here it comes. Did you feel that? How about them apples?
I suddenly feel a lot of green, like a lawn, grass, being blown by the breeze. Yeah. Mm.
Well, those were the 3 interactive moments. And unfortunately, the spotlight's going on you. Could you give us your mantra that you want to share with all of us? But you're going to repeat it 3 times from the heart so people can pick up on your vibe. They can play psychic medium or just truly being in the heart, one with all, one with you. And let the universe, loving beings, angels kind of oversee this for decades to come. So it's only positive transactions here. What would you want to share as a reminder for us all that's a mantra like, but it's not a Rumi quote? You got to
Mm.
come up with a new one. Do you have it?
Sure. Yep.
Okay,
So should I share now?
3 times.
Okay. Um, Myth was never true, but will always be. Myth was never true, but will always be. Myth was never true, but will always be.
That definitely has to be one of the deepest out of maybe, I'm going to say 375, 400 taped episodes and people doing this. That was very creative, very deep, very original. Latal, thank you for that. Okay, I'm
You're
going to
welcome.
read.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, thank
mm,
you. I'm going to read one easy peasy lemon
mm.
squeezy statement from loving figures that I still love, and I love to find an excuse to read it on the show. But I'd love this to be a trampoline, these 3 or 4 sentences, so that it's such inspiration. You're going to close the show out for us in just a moment. Let me read this, and it's super easy. This is a softball compared to all the beautiful questions and the beautiful answers you gave us earlier. Sometimes the person next to you or a stranger just needs validation via love and compassion. A smile changes any moment, so too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassionate to all. Do it. Let's have you close the show out.
Well, I think the world, our world will become a much better place if we could always remember that.
Agreed. Letao
Yeah,
Wang,
not, yeah.
you're amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really
Thank,
appreciate you being a guest.
thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Yeah. See you next time.